Welcome to RedStone for Dummies. Alright, so the first things that you're probably going to need to know, which you probably already do know, is a button, pressure pad, a torch, and a lever. Alright, so let me just set this up. Alright, so you have current, and let's just use pistons as an example. So you have two states of redstone. When it's not glowing, it's off. And when it is, like that, it's on. And everything in redstone has either an on state or an off state. Like this piston here, when it's off, it's down. When it's on, it's up. So a button will put out some current for a short period of time. Pressure pad will constantly put it on when there's pressure on it. Redstone torch, which, if it's set up correctly, like this, it's constantly on, depending on the state of the block, which it's standing on, which I'll get to later. And a lever, which is constantly on or off, depending on what state you leave it in. Alright, so as I said before, a block has a state. So, right, a block by default is off. These redstone torch is on or off depending on the state of the block. So by default it's off, so the torch is on. Now, if you send current, which is when the glowstone is on, if you send current to it, the torches, which are the opposite of the current that's going to the block, which default is 0, and now is 1. 0 is off, 1 is on. Then the torch will be on or off dependent. So this just gives power to the block, which turns this off. So torches just invert the power of the block in which it is connected to or standing on. So that's the basics. I might be going a little fast, but yeah. I don't do this commentating thing very often either. And alright, so I'll show you the AND gate, which is a little bit more complex, but very useful. So, actually I'll start off with the inverter. So, if you have power, which I'm just going to use a torch as power, or actually, here, I'll use a lever. That's not a lever, that's a piston. Alright, so when you flick this on, that turns on. Flick it off, it turns back off. So, an inverter, which, this by default is an inverter, but this redstone is not going to this block. It's going straight to the torch, which it's not really going to the torch is going to it as it's turning it on. And so if you make it so the current is going to a block, and you put the redstone torch on the block, which is currently off, as you can see, even this is off and it's going to the block, which is off. And then see it's coming in off and it's going out on. So if you flip the switch, which turns this on, this becomes off. So it's just flipping the signal around. This is just to show you that it's working. On turns it off, off turns it on. You could use these in consecutive use with each other, but is not ever needed, to be honest. See, on to off, back to on. Off, on, off. Alright, Now, yes, back to the AND gate. So, AND gate is, it's called the AND gate because you have two inputs, which is right here. So, say if you have a pressure pad here and a torch here. So, an AND gate means input A and input B. Input A and input B. That's why it's called the AND gate. So if both of these are on, this output, which here, let me just build this quickly. This output will be on. Now you see, this is on and this is off. So the output is off. Now if they're both off, the output is still off. But if I do this, and here, just so you can see this. Now if you look at that wire over there, and now this is on and this is on, the wire over there, if you could see that, that's on. On, it goes on. That's on, and this is on, so that's on. Now, the way this is working is, since this right here is inverting the signal, or wait, here, I'll do a little quick tutorial right here. You have, what was I gonna say? Yes. So whenever you have wire, the position of on will always overtake the position of off. So if there's anything that's powering the wire, it will be on. So, which obviously makes sense. So this right here is inverting this. So it's going from off to on, which is keeping this on, which this is another inverter, which is putting it off. And the only way you can get both of these off is if, one sec, if both of these are on. So since all three of these invert the signal from if it's off to on and if it's on to off, so the AND is turning it, making sure that input A and B are on and the output ends up being off. And since the on position, since like when it's like this, you have one that's on, and one that's off. And as you can see, the one that's on is turning it on, and the one that's off isn't just turning it off because this one's turning it on. It works the same for both cases. The one that's on turns it on, the one that's off doesn't turn it off if there's one turning it on. So it's inverting it. So one sec, I gotta change the time. Alright, so it's inverting it. So this is on, so this is turning it to off, and this is on, so they're both off. So as long as one, as long as none of them are on, then it'll be it won't be on. But if any of them are on, that will end up being on. And if this is on, this is gonna invert it to off. But if it's off, it's gonna invert it to on. So the inverter that I said earlier right here is very important in almost everything you do. Now, let's see what else is there. Yes. Say if you're making something like, here, let me just get a door. And say if you have this door and it's like, yeah, like it's all the way over here, and you think, well, I just have this wall right here. I'll just put a, where's my button? Oh, I already have a button. Well, lever, whatever. They all work. Alright, so you would think that just connecting this would work. And then when you flick the switch, the door would open. But as you can see, right here is when it stops glowing, because the currency, yes, is that what I meant to say? Anyways, it will only go 15 blocks before it burns out. See, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This right here is 15. And it'll only go 15 and then it'll stop. So the easy way to do it is just to use the repeater that was added into Minecraft recently. Well, somewhat recently. And the way the repeater works is you just put okay, so you place it down in a line with redstone or itself. You could also just do this, but they only work one way. So if you have a torch here and whatever way you're looking is the way it places. So you usually just want to go the way you want it to go. So see, the power is going through it, but if you put it this way, the power's not going to go through because it has to go that way. It also won't work this way or that way. It'll only work this way. And now the reason why it's called a repeater is it's more of a delay. So this, I believe, is a quarter. Or, I think it's like, I don't know. Well, I'll just say it's a quarter of a delay of some sort of measurement of time. And then that's half, that's 3/4, and that's a full, whatever the measurement is. It might be 1/8, 1/4, and all that. So if you look here, when I hit it, there's oh well, I guess I should have waited for it to turn off for the demonstration to be more accurate. But it waits 16, or I'll just say this is a full measurement of time, each one of these. So it waits a full measurement of time before it releases or lets the energy bypass. And it also counts as an energy source of itself. So as you saw here, I put the 15 was only getting to here. The 15 length of power was only getting to about here. So putting this repeater in allowed it to continue or restart the 15. So this would go like from over here, it'd go 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah, all the way up to like 10 or something, and then it would start again and it would go 1, 2, 3, 4 to 15, and then it would stop again. So you'd have to put another one of these down. Yes, I think that's about everything. Oh, a memory cell. I should probably mention this. Alright, so this is a memory cell. It's kind of confusing, but yet very simple once you realize how it works. I haven't really looked into it, I just know it works. Alright, so I'll just put down these blocks and put buttons on the other side. Alright, now, as you can see from looking at this, you have power on one side and no power on the other. Now, as a button works, a button is, you press it, it turns on, and then it turns off. It has a short burst of power. Now, if you don't want a switch, but you want a button, the memory cell will save it. So, since the inverter only works this way, you can't have an inverter that goes toward the thing, because the power always comes from the torch, not towards the torch. So the power doesn't go towards this torch, and this torch is not lit because this side is lit. So it's inverting because this block now has a power of 1. Or it's on, I guess. It's either 1 or a 0. This happens to be a 0 because nothing is going to it. And this is a 1 because it's on. And since nothing is going to this is turning on, which is turning all of this on, which is also turning this off. So when you press this button, it turns this on, and since this is power, the power will turn the wire on more than the nothing will try to turn it off, as I was mentioning before. So what it did here was it turned this on, which this block here now, like, okay, you press this button, it turns these 4 pieces of redstone on, and then this inverter, or well, this block now realizes that it's on, and this torch, since it's connected to this block, it realizes that it should turn off. And since that turns off, this ends up turning off as well, which also tells this torch to turn on because this is now at a state of 0 or off. And the same, and it repeats back and forth. So if you have a door and you want it hooked up to a button and not a, where the hell's the door? You have a door and you want it so it stays on after you push the button once, and then you go inside your house and then you push another button and it closes the door. Well, I might as well go over this while I'm at it too. You have your wooden door and your steel and your iron door, not steel. Your wooden door, I could just click on it and it opens. With the metal door, I could punch it and right click on it and nothing happens. So you have to use this magical red stuff to turn it on and to turn it off. What did I miss? I didn't rehearse any of this, so yes. Ignore that. I'm rich. I paid for my Windows. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Oh yes, and there is some extra stuff. A block. Here, wait one sec. A block can transmit currency. Is it currency? I have no clue. But anyways, so a block can transmit power through it. So if you have, so if you don't want all these wires running around through your house, what you would do is, let me just get another door. Oh my god, I just found that. There. Alright, what? Put that somewhere. Alright, so you'd have your door, and if you have the redstone going under it, I'm not sure. Okay, yes, that won't work because a torch is needed for the power to go through. So to do this, the door will automatically be open, which you don't want unless if, say, your house is that way. But the door is default facing this way. So the power of this torch is going through this block. So, and since the torch is default on because this block is off, you want to get the torch to turn off by, of course, getting power to that block so that it'll invert it to the other way. I'm just going to make a little thing here. Alright, so have your pressure pad, and I'll just throw it right over. Right, which way is the door closed? Alright, so I'll put it right there. Add a little bit more to this. Alright, so I need redstone. So the button is right there. And here, I'll show you this while I'm at it. The button, as you can see when I step on it, the button can transmit power through the block to the ground. So if I have this running around, that's incorrect, because it's getting power from that. The problem with redstone is it's so bulky, so you have to have a space in between it. Like, if you want it to go around, you need to go like this, and not just go like this, because it's connecting. That's a problem you'll run into a lot. So, now, right now I'd have it so I'm walking to my house, but the door's already open, so I can press step on it, and it's closing the door in my face. So, since it's default on, and when you push the button, it turns this on, which then turns this off, which is closing the door. So, you need to use that inverter from before. So, now, by default, you're not standing in front of your door, so that's not on. So, this is off, it inverts it to on, which then ends up getting inverted again into off, which then goes through this block. Or is it this block? Yeah, through this block, and puts it off. So when you step on it, what's happening is, let me just get rid of this with a shovel. Does this work? I didn't think it would. Alright, so this is the same thing as when you were stepping on it, except for the switch, and I don't have to be stepping on it. So, alright, it's off, it inverts to on, which then inverts this to off, which the door's off, or also known as closed. So, then when it's on, this ends up being on, because it's transmitting the power through, down to this, which is then turning this block on, which the torch is on this block, so that's now off, as explained. And then this ends up being off, because no power is going to it. And then this is off, leaving the torch on, which leaves the door on. So, whether you have a switch or this, now you can go through it. Another helpful thing to know is you have stone. Oh my god, where is everything? Oh, there it is. Alright, I don't know why I spawned more stone, but I didn't need it. You have a wooden, well, it's just a pressure plate. They're both just pressure plates, but one's made out of wood, one's made out of stone. The difference here isn't just material and look. Clearly when you step on both, it turns it on, and shortly it turns it off. But I could throw as much stuff as I want on this, and nothing's gonna happen. But if I throw something on the wooden one, well, I picked it up. The wooden one lets out a signal. So that's helpful. And there's one more thing you need to know. You could just hook a button straight up to TNT. You're good to go. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, rate, comment.